PTC Creo Parametric 3.0, Lesson 6, Part 1. In Lesson 6, we are going to start to build parts for an assembly that we're going to use the same parts in Lesson 8, 9, and in 12 for the assembly drawing. So it's important that all these remain in one folder. We're going to start with the foot part. All of these are revolved, and most of the features on them are revolved features. So we're going to be concentrating on that aspect of the protrusions. So we're going to also put some chamfers, etc. Make sure you follow all the steps in the book. We have you experience some of the navigation of the folder structure and some of the content, etc. But we're going to start over here on the clamp foot. So this will be, first of all, you want to make sure you've set up your directory. And we're going to go into, for me, we're going to go into my 3.0 directory and set that as the working. So when I click on open, you'll see that there's a lot of, I can show thumbnails. I normally have the show pop-up viewer on. You can click all versions, and any type of save that you did while in this folder it will reflect all those parts unless you went and you deleted old versions. We've mentioned this before. So we're not going to open up anything though, just wanted to look at that. And I'll close the browser. It's going to be a new part, and this one is going to be the foot. So it's the clamp foot. I'm just going to give it a unique name that I haven't used previously. And we're going to make sure that we've got all of our settings the same as before. We're going to turn on our datum tags. And if we go into File and Options and click on the Configuration Editor, we can import a previous configuration that we saved. And in this case here, the one that we've worked on and you should have been saving as we went is the configuration pro that was saved when we were doing the previous lesson, so it was under Creo textbook. As we went through some of these lectures, we did add other configs with different names. Now, if I open this particular one, I should have more than just the items that are going to show up on yours, because I've done this before and I've saved it under that same name. So we can click in here and we can see as set, by category, alphabetical, and under show you can see show options, changed, or all options. And when you do that, these are all the options you can set up previous to starting a session. And you can save them and then use them over and over again. You don't want to have to do this constantly. Now if we go over here by category, you'll notice that we have everything from assembly to drawings to views to colors, etc. I'm going to go back to alphabetical and click on Find, and I'm going to type in DEF, and it'll go to where DEF is shown as one of the options. And we want to go to the default decimal places. And we can see that the value was set at 3. Yours might be 4 or 2. So we're going to put it at 3 and then add the change. So when you go through the requirements of the book, you're going to be setting these, and then you're going to import from the previous lessons, lesson 2 in particular. But then you're going to make some new changes, and when you're done, then you're going to save them, and these will then be attached to that continuing growing config.pro that you've got. So your configuration file is very important. You're going to set up the default decimal places, and then you're going to add layer axes. And again, I'm not going to go through all that. You just make sure you follow the steps for it. What we're going to do then here is close, and again, There's where exports. You can actually export this. You can actually save this file in a and send it to yourself in an email or put it on a thumb drive so you have it with you all the time. And when I click OK here, it's going to ask, do I want to save this? And this time I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to click on the Creo textbook. Click OK. And we're back where we were. So this is the very beginning of the part, but we did some setup. We might as well set up some more things. If we go in here, we say Manage File. We can see some of the options we have. Prepare. Sometimes you have to click on this more than one time to get it to show up. Model Properties. And for instance, we've done materials before. So let's just pick another one. I guess it doesn't. We can go back to steel. And our units are inches, so we'll leave that alone. And pretty much everything else we'll keep as it is right now. Close. And so you're setting up the model to start having some information embedded in it. And now we're going to do the geometry. And one of the things we want to do when we complete this first part, we're going to be saving items for use later, for instance in the sketch. So we're going to start off, and our first feature under the model tab is a revolve, and we're going to click on the right date and place and sketch on that. And then we're going to pick our sketch view, and you'll notice the Z is going down. A lot of people like to see the Z axis go down the middle of the part. It's not important, but it is more convenient, let's say, and sometimes when you're doing the manufacturing, Creo manufacturing, the NC, you might want to have that axis go down the middle. So we're going to start off, and we're going to put an axis of revolution in. So that's our vertical axis. Middle mouse button. And we're going to be sketching a few lines here. And again, your dimensions are going to show up a little bit different than mine. It's not important that they're the same. So right mouse button, line. I'm going to put in the basic shape that we want. The shape is very important. The dimensions are not important. Those can always be changed. And one of the things you'll notice is it did turn everything into a diameter, and that's because we are on a revolved feature, and we put axis of revolution rather than a construction center line. All right, so we have all our dimensions here, and basically what we want to do is we want to window them in, right mouse button, we're going to modify, and as usual we're going to expand out, and we're going to check the lock scale. And the dimensions we're going to use, and this is why we don't care about these sketch dimensions, they're not the same, as everybody's will be different, but we do want to make sure that our final dimensions, which are here, are correct. These are the design dimensions. So we can pick, let's say, the largest one here, and this is supposed to be 125. And I should type this in correctly, 1.25. And OK. And so now, again, we take a look at the dimensions, and you can see they're going to be fairly close to what we want. We do want a dimension from here to here, so we'll worry about that later. Right now, we've already changed this dimension. As I recall, the one on the bottom here is 0.875. And we have 0.25 for here to here. We don't have that dimension available yet, so 0.75 for the height. So this is 0.75. And we want a new dimension put in here. So right mouse button dimension, we want to go from the bottom to this line, not to the end point. It'll automatically get rid of the other one because that's still a weak dimension. These dimensions are turned into design dimensions, so they're already strong. And this one is supposed to be 0.25. 0.25, 0.75, 1.25. And check all our dimensions out. 0.875. some reason it looks awfully tall to me. Look at it one more time. No, it should be correct. Okay. So this is our first sketch, first feature. I'll use my middle mouse button to rotate it. You can also, of course, go into Control D, but may not look as appropriate. You can wonder what it looks like there. So rotate this around. Whichever one looks best for you as far as its visualization. Now, when I right mouse button click on OK, it'll swirl this around and we can reorient it. Shading. Let's put it on Control D. And I'm going to zoom in. If I fit, sometimes it does a little bit of an odd thing. It doesn't give it it zooms it out for some reason. So there's our first feature, a revolved feature. Click on check and zoom all. Now at this point, normally I like to go in and I like to put a color on it. I haven't been doing too good with my colors, I've noticed. Let's see what this one looks like. No, I don't like that either. I never like my colors, actually. Sometimes when you're given so many choices and so many options with a color, it actually seems to be harder to figure out which one you want. And my reflection, I think I'll go with a bright red. And again, I can go with a little bit of a transparency. You don't want to do it too much. And you can change some of the other things if you want. Maybe make it a little bit lighter, brighter. Close. All right, so there's my first feature. So the second one, I'm going to go back to my model and I'm going to click on Revolve. Be careful not to click on Extrude, because once you do that, you're really in a different type of command and you really can't transfer the information. You can save the section and reuse it and go back to Revolve, but it's best to just remember. Now we're going to use the remove material. And if I click on placement, you can see it's the same thing as going right mouse button, define internal sketch. Sketch, define. Now I didn't want to pre-select anything because in this case I want to use the previous setup. So I'm basically back where I was. Right mouse button, axis of revolution. People will always say, well, why can't I use the previous one? That's a previous sketch you did. So you have another, it's like a separate sheet of paper. You're saving this. Now there's a lot of rare varieties of ways to do this particular sketch. Go back over here, take a look at the sizes, requirements. And like I said, there's probably 5 or 6 major ways to complete this sketch. You can put a circle in there and cut things out. You can use an arc. And for our purposes, we'll just use an arc and center arcs or center ends. And I want to make sure I don't go, in an odd place here. I kind of come down a little bit below halfway of the upper portion. And let me go in here and change to hidden line. It's a little hard to see. That's the problem here. I wish it was a little bit darker. So I'm going to come out, click, middle mouse button. Now, again, there's a lot of different ways I could put actually a rectangle in here. There's a lot of things I can do. I am going to have to use a line coming down. I can come down from here, just come straight down, over, and I can go all the way back to the top, and then middle mouse button twice. But it's going to say there's a problem in here. So it's not letting me. I can go to my feature requirements up in the dashboard, and you can see there's something, the basic requirements. Basic requirement is that it's one continuous loop, not crossing lines. So I've got to do some editing here. So I'm going to go to delete segment, and I'm going to delete out this, and then hit my middle mouse button. And by doing that, I can see I got one continuous set of entities. I don't like the idea that I'm getting a dimension here. And this dimension here is a radius. So if I right mouse button dimension and I double click on the arc and then middle mouse button. And that's a fast double click, by the way. I also don't want this dimension here. So under dimension, I want to come from the bottom up to here. Like so. Now these look okay, but something's going on down in here. And I want to know what dimension is this. Why am I getting this dimension here? It's a 0 dimension. So whenever you want to investigate something, just change it a little bit. I double clicked on it. I'm going to make it, how about 0.25? Whoa. So what happened was I've got a dimension going from here to here for some reason. That center line did not lock into the axis. So if I come up here and I click on my coincident and I tell the system I want this center line locked into here, and it says, well, you have a dimension. Well, we'll delete that dimension, and now we've got it locked in. So it doesn't look quite as good as before. Let's move our dimensions a little bit. And just for a rough dimension here, let's go 0.5. No, didn't work. Let's just drag it. Not too big. You can see, you can actually try to get similar sizes that for the design itself. Now, my dimensions in the book are going to be different because what we want to do is go down here and come up with these design dimensions. So this is 0.450. No, take that back. This is 0.425. This is 0.450. And the other one is 0.2 from the bottom up. So here's my dimensions. Now, I didn't modify them. There's only 3 of them, and they're all within range of the correct size. So there's no reason to have modified them. Now, here's something that's a little bit different. Excuse me. We're going to save this, but if we save right now, you're going to see I go up here and you see we have file. The regular save is not going to be available. Okay? We're saving the sketch right now. So we're going to click save a copy. Excuse me. And we're going to call it ball end. I already have one called that. So I'll just make mine a little bit different. Click OK. And you'll notice the directory it's going into. So this is an actual section which we can reuse for the next feature, for the next model. And then I'll go back over here, click on shading reflections, and just shading with edges. All right. Check. And it's nice to have that transparency on so you can see the cut. And they're done. Okay, the next Revolve feature on this is a chamfer. So basically we want to select this edge. A lot of people would get frustrated because they try to come in here and pick on something. What you want to do is just simply click on one of the features, move your cursor, then pick on the edge. And the right mouse button will not give you a choice of chamfer. Some systems it does. So here we're going to select chamfer, and I won't bother to change it to whatever it says in the book. I'll just leave it like it is. Now, if we continued on, I'm going to click and I'm going to select, hold down my control key, select again. I can change all of these into or I can add a round, I should say. Make it a little bit bigger. Now, I left out the top for a reason because I want to show you another capability. I'm going to pre-select the feature, come and select the edge, right mouse button, I'm going to round, and then I'm going to take my cursor and just put it somewhere along the edge, right mouse button, and let's see. No, I didn't want to do that. I'm sorry. I'm going to put my cursor over the top of the little dot and then select Add Radius. And I'm going to do this so that I have 4 separate points. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to drag those points. Oop, that didn't work. Doesn't want to go back. So I'm kind of muffing this one. I'm going to start again. Excuse me. Here's one. I'm going to add a radius. I think I'll do one at a time. And I'm going to drag that over to the quadrant. Put my cursor over the top, add radius. And I'm going to drag that one over to here. And I'll add one more. So now I've got a radius at each one of the quadrant points, positions. Go into sets here and we'll see what we've got. You can see here's the location, here's the radius. So let's say we make this one 0.02, this one 0.03, this one 0.04, and then let's go back to 0.02. It's not very radical, but you can see it a little bit. You can see that it actually changes the radius, and we can get a little bit more, make the difference here a little bit better. Let's say let's 0.06. And you can see, you can also drag these. If it doesn't show up, it means it's not valid. This really doesn't like it when I do this. So this is 0.031. What do we have here? 0.03. There we go. So at a certain point, it starts to have a problem, obviously. But you can experiment with this. It's not, I don't want you to leave it like this for the part, but it gives you an idea of one of the round capabilities. Check. Now, the other thing we can do is we could actually go into our View tab, Appearance, and let's select another color. And in this case, let's just hold down the Control key, and pick on the 3 surfaces of the cut. And they're tangent, so you don't have to pick both sides. So this does show that it's a machined portion of the part if you want to do it like this. So we colored the surface, not the model. The model is still the blue. Control D, make sure you save the part. This concludes Lesson 6, Part 1.